as new tools redefine what is POH. What a great intro to the world of creation and AI. Now, didn't get everything right in that song, and it's a bit cheesy, but it's pretty amazing. Some tech that launched just 2 weeks ago, able to make a song like that in less than 1 minute this morning when I chucked it a few words of my own. Now, I'm Joe Raeburn. I am the CEO of 2UP Games, and I'm here to talk to you today about fear, inspiration, secrets, and hope. Now, 2UP Games is a games company. We're just under 4 years old. There's 9 of us throughout New Zealand and Australia. And for the last year, we've been focused exclusively on AI empowered games, specifically those that allow players to be creative while they play and express new things. So, what are we going to talk about today? Fear. That's a big thing that comes up when we talk about AI and creativity moving in on our space. Inspiration, and how we find it as a company by looking to our players. Taking a peek behind the curtain, we're going to show you things in Unity. We're going to show you some scripts. We're going to show you some JSON. We're going to show you some Stable Diffusion. And if those things aren't interesting to you, you're probably not a game student. But we're going to try to make this accessible to everyone, whether you come from a gaming background or not. We're going to show you two of the games that we're working on and behind the scenes there. And finally, talk a little bit about the future and what that means in terms of how we can create and how we can have hope for the future rather than fear. So let's come back to fear. Is AI coming for us? I'm not keeping you in suspense. In all of the creative industries, yes. And with games, we kind of sat by the sideline for a while as we had audio AI, visual AI, video AI. But as of last week, just last week, Google published this paper on Genie. And Genie can take a single frame, a single image, video, children's sketch, and turn it into a playable platformer. Now, right now, I can only do that at 1 frame a second, but it can generate and understand things like jump and attack and generate frames off to the side. Most people think with the development of LLMs that we're going to be able to see much larger, much richer interactive experiences being created on the fly in real time with AI, probably by the end of this year. And so, as a game developer, if that doesn't strike fear into your heart, then I'm not entirely sure what will. Because change is scary. Changing the way that we do things is scary, especially when we have a way of life almost as game developers that we have gotten used to. But change can be cool too. And I've seen that a few times. Like I grew up when I was a gamer, someone who would play on PC and consoles, and that was a thing that only a very small number of people did. And when the audience got larger, moving to Facebook, that was actually quite scary for me, both as a gamer and as a game creator. Am I going to have to sell horse armor now? Is everything microtransactions? Are all the games that I know and love going to change? And the short answer was no. By expanding who played games and by expanding what was possible and by expanding the definition of a game, it didn't preclude the enjoyment that we had as console game makers or console game consumers. It expanded gaming to an even wider market, and that happened again when it came to mobile phones. I know there's fear around different business models, fear around the App Store, fear around discoverability. What happens when games are free? Does that mean all games are free? And that fear is understandable because change is scary. But I was lucky enough to work at a couple of companies that took this change and decided to ride on the wave of it and chose like hope and innovation rather than fear. The first one was Playfish. Super duper lucky to be in London around the time that they were hiring for people to make games on the Facebook platform. For gamers that looked really different from the type that I'd grown up with, frankly, that looked really different from me. Mostly female, spread throughout the world, heaps in the Midwest in the United States. We made games that were different from what I had imagined a game to be, but were awesome. This first one, Restaurant City, was the original build the restaurant of your dreams game. Not only could you run a restaurant, but you could choose how to decorate it and show it to your friends and have your friends visit your restaurant. And that sounds like a kind of trite idea now, right? Build a restaurant of your dreams. But back then, it was amazing, it was fresh, it was new, and it had over 3 million people logging in every day to play that game. So I was like so lucky to be able to run that game for a couple of years and learn from those players. I also was involved with The Sims Social. Now, The Sims Social took a really popular brand and brought it onto the Facebook platform where you didn't just have uh, control your own Sims, you interacted with your friends' Sims. You could date them, you could do all sorts of things with them. And that game had over 10 million daily players. And again, looked quite different from the traditional gamer demographics. And when the mobile phone came out, I couldn't wait to start working on it. There was a lot of doomsayers at the time of games as a gaming platform. I mean, there's no controller on this, so how are you going to play games? Fortunately, I joined a company called SpaceApe. I was one of the founding employees, the founding product person. I led game development on the first 3 games there, and we made games for another audience. We made some of the original Wharepaku games, games that you play when you have a few minutes to yourself rather than having to set aside hours. So some of the demographic looked like ex-gamers. They looked like people who played with their work colleagues, policemen, firemen. And we made some awesome games that allowed these people to team up, create alliances, and crush other people's alliances, or achieve goals together, bigger than ones they would have been able to do individually. We also, at SpaceApe, made the world's most successful music game, BeatStar, which continues to have the best catalog of any music game and be also the most successful. Now, uh, I was fortunate enough to be part of that journey from 10 people all the way through to over 100 people when the company was over time, partnered up with Supercell and valued at over $500 million New Zealand. So I happen to be a fan of getting onto platforms, understanding what the players want, understanding how those players are different, and trying to find success that way. So no surprise when we have disruption that is as big as a platform change that I would want to be involved. So friends from Supercell helped me start up a company here in New Zealand when I came back from London to Up Games, and now we are focused on making AI empowered games, and we are focused on delighting players with things that could not have been done before. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about these games as we go through, but these are games that we have discovered player needs. We have discovered things that players want from games that they just aren't getting, and we are using generative AI to meet those needs. Are there really new things that we could do for players? Like, there's hundreds of thousands of games on the App Store right now. Do you really need 3 more? The answer is yes. When you start to understand players and what they really want and what they really want from games, that is our inspiration for making something new. So, what the draw? We wanted to make a drawing game. We knew that drawing games could be popular, and we wanted to go out to players and just ask them, what if there was a drawing game where AI takes your art and improves it? What do you think? When we went out to players, we were expecting most people to say, I don't like the idea of AI art. I don't like AI art, because that was all we were hearing in our kind of Twitter sphere from our artist friends, that like how terrible AI art is. But instead, we didn't. 2/3 of players told us, I'm interested in this. One reason, they were curious. An even more interesting reason, they were scared and fearful of creativity. Just like my 7-year-old, when she has a drawing and it's not quite right, she would scrunch it up at a ball and throw it away and say that's terrible. We would see our playtesters sketching quite nicely, saying, oh, this is terrible art. I'm just going to have to start again. There's this fear that comes with everyday creativity that us who live in the creative industries might not have, but I assure you, regular people won't have it. So when we say, you know what, anyone can create a masterpiece, AI can help you make something nice, people say, oh, interesting. Maybe it would be cool to see my terrible drawings come to life. So that kind of underlying need is what powered. once we knew that players had fear, being able to respond with anyone can draw and anyone can create a masterpiece, it meant that we had a game that had our lowest cost to acquire out of any game that we've made so far. It's like there was an unmet need. There was something that AI could do about it, and there was a game that we could make in that space. That to us is inspiring. So inspiring that we started wondering, are there other unmet needs? So this is another game. This is the game we're working on at the moment called My Magical Main Street. I'm just going to pop this up and play it. All right. So this is an arcade idle game. It's an incredibly popular genre on mobile phones. In fact, has held the #1 spot for more days last year than any other genre. But we spoke with players and we're like, what do you wish was done better? And the answer we've asked in many different ways was a form of personal expression and decoration, like what we used to have in Restaurant City. So we're like, maybe we can allow you to make your own town, to make your own choices, to have thousands of options at every moment of creation. Now, the other game we're working on, and we're also going to give you a sneak peek behind the scenes of, is Better Life. Now, Better Life is a text-based life simulator. Text-based life simulators are also incredibly popular. Over 250 million downloads in this genre. And you can live a life, birth, death, everything in between. Pregnancy, houses, cars, cancer, estranged brothers, you name it, it's in text-based life simulators. When we asked players what they wanted, do you want richer graphics? Do you want a voice to talk to you? Do you want more consequence? The #1 thing that players told us again and again that they wanted was to be able to go into many different worlds. You see, this text-based life simulator genre is almost exclusively real-world, modern-day stories. Players said they wanted to be able to go into a bookshop when they could pick different stories off the bookshelf. Ancient Rome, post-apocalyptic, Regency London, modern magic school. The more, the better. They want to be able to live out a variety of lives. That's a lot of writing. That's a lot of creation. That's something that I just don't think can be made without generative AI. So that's another need that inspires us to make a new type of game, a game type that wasn't possible, with a reach that wasn't possible. So how do we make these? I'm going to tag in to talk with a couple of people from 2UP Games. But before I do, a warning. When you look at games, you're like, wow, everything must be so nice and so organized, the way that they make it, especially at early stages of development. It's just a veritable paradise. Well, no, it's veritable chaos, and things look ugly and don't always work correctly. So I'm going to let you in behind the curtain to see what the mess actually looks like at early stage of generative AI game development. We've only been working on these games since the start of the year. So with Better Life, just to give you an intro, it's you choose your world, you get a role in that world, you start off as a student, and you're able to get skills in this vampire world. You can get vampire skills like hunting, and then you're given situations where you make choices. And we encourage players to use the power of their own imagination. Only players with strong imaginations play text-based life simulators, and we feed that, and our job is to feed that in the right way. So now I'm going to be tapping over to my co-founder Tim, who's going to take you through the tools we have in Unity to make Better Life come to life.
Hi folks, I'm Tim. I'm going to show you a little bit about how the sausage is made for our game Better Life. Now, so this is a little scenario from Better Life. I just made this one, and I'll take you through how I made this and how we use AI to assist us. So this is you're a teenage vampire in this world in the game. There are multiple ones, but in this one, this is a modern vampires one. So think Buffy, Twilight, that kind of thing. And I'll show you how. I had asked the LLM to assist me, the LLM being the AI when we're using OpenAI's ChatGPT API for this. And I had asked it to give me a teenage scenario that is still vampirically themed. And I quite like what it's come up with here. You spot a gang of teenage humans showing off their skateboarding tricks. And you can try a trick yourself. But since I've leveled up both my hunting and persuasion vampire skills, I can choose to go to the dark side a bit here. So I'm gonna hunt instead. Oh, click past it by mistake, but using the distraction, you catch a stray human for a quick snack. Your hunger sated, but the guilt of exploring the situation sours your mood. Now, it's a little bit awkward on that last sentence. So let's go see if we can work with the AI to make that come out a little bit clearer. So we'll stop there. Going to head off to here. So what we have done is in the Unity Inspector, this is real basic kind of early days stuff, but we wanted to show you basic early days stuff because that's how you can make a start with this. In fact, we prototyped this just with ChatGPT and then with ChatGPT assistance. Now we've moved on to hooking up the Unity Inspector into the OpenAI API. So your hunger's sated, but the guilt of exploiting the situation sours your mood. So that to me is a little bit awkward. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take, come on cursor, I'm going to use some classic square brackets like you can do with these AIs, but I've explicitly told it what to do with these square brackets. Something like what you gave me, AI, but I'm just going to say, but pithier. And let's see if I now hit the populate storylet. So storylet is what we call these little scenarios that come up throughout the game. So takes a bit longer than you might expect for OpenAI stuff because at the moment it is sending off an entire JSON data structure and receiving an entire JSON data structure back. So you can probably already see where the opportunity for optimization there, and I can talk a bit at the end about that. What do we got? Oh, this is nice. This is pithier. Your hunger fades, but guilt bites your conscience. Nice. So if I was to, so that is available right away in the game. But before we do that, what I wanted to show you is making things from whole cloth with the AI. So yes, you can set, everyone knows you can set AI completely loose, just making stuff up. But what we've found, and this is how we get that final bit of quality out of the AI that is often a bit lacking, is we give it a bunch of backstory about the world. We give it a writing prompt. I'll just show you at the end of this one. I've asked for no skateboarding because I happen to know that if the AI sees teenagers, it often will give you something about skateboarding. So that's something to take away, is just prompt it for what you don't want. Now, what I've told it ahead of time is that these symbols mean just invent something for me here. And I'm actually asking it to infer a bunch of stuff that I haven't told it. I'm just going to send it this data structure in JSON. And I'm going to say, if your hunting is greater than 0, write something. And that is increasing your blood levels as a vampire. And the incredible thing about modern AI is that it can actually infer what you mean just from that most of the time. So let's try and let's see if we can get another scenario in a similar vein, still about teenage stuff with the same kind of consequences, but with a different setup. And we'll see what the AI makes of that. What have we got? Oh, it's a nighttime dance. Okay. Right, and we can still go hunting, but we can also dance the night away. If we just stick, oh, let's just give that a nice name. And we'll stick that in the list of possible things that can happen. And we'll hit play and we'll see what happens. And the great thing with this kind of tooling, guys, is that you can actually do this while you've got the game running. I'm hitting stop and play, but if you set things up right, if you know Unity and you set things up right with your scriptable objects, you can get a flow where you're kind of going back and forth, collaborating with the AI, getting more content into your game while the game is running, and it can be a real joy. Kind of feeling like you've got a smart co-author. Okay, so we've got a systemic event there. Let's see if we can trigger the school dance. Here we go. Nighttime school dance. Split with special ingredient. Okay. I'm gonna try leading the dance with my vampire skill of persuasion. Okay. And because vampires, everyone knows they're charming, I am now leading the dance. So these are kind of frivolous scenarios, but we've also found that the AI is quite strong with stuff like, your relationship with your mother is quite bad, and you can ask it to write a little scenario about that, and it will come up with something usually quite compelling after maybe one or two iterations to encourage it away from the copious stuff. So that is how we are using generative AI for offline authoring. Now, you might be wondering, oh, why not just do it all online as players are playing? Why not just fire off calls to the AI and get completely fresh stuff? What we have found is that that's actually a recipe to get really tropey things back and to not quite have the quality that you might want in your game. So what we're finding at the moment is that a combination of you and the AI together collaborating can be dynamite, because it's way quicker than if you were having to it's way quicker than if you were having to just author everything yourself, but you can get the quality up higher than if it was just going off to the AI with no human intervention. That is something we are hoping for the future, though. And I'll just point out one nice little thing. If any of you programmers out there know about the provider pattern, I would encourage you to use it, and you can pretty easily get yourself a situation where you can evaluate a whole different AI setup. So here is where we're using OpenAI's ChatGPT API, and this is Google's Gemini Pro. So in exactly the same way, we can see what it makes of it. And just like the ChatGPT one, it is able to infer a bunch of stuff without you needing to explicitly tell it. So it has come up with one about doing homework until dawn. Will you hit the books or will you go hunting? And so very nice job from Gemini Pro there. Right, I think that's everything from me. Enjoy the rest of your time.
Tim, that was really cool. Thanks, dude. Now we're going to have a quick look at Better Life. I'm going to show you the first few moments of the game. Do you want a cafe, a bookshop, a sports store? I think we're going to go for a bookshop. Now, this sort of game is a lot of moving things from A to B. Cool, I've got a bookshop. I've got a pretty generic logo on my bookshop. But people are coming in and they're buying books and they are loving it. But what happens when I upgrade? They get some choice over my mascot, my little cockatoo, the type of books I want, and the kind of style that they can be rendered in. Now these logos look pretty good. Some of them work out quite nicely. But what happens if we want to take the next step forward in quality? That's what I'm going to be handing over to James to talk. It disappeared. Handing over to James to talk about now.
So, given we need to generate logo, not unlike this one I'm about to kick off right now, Fox Mystery Cartoon, the store. And we need these types of logos, which won't show up there. Sorry, there they are. So we've got a bunch of cartoon logos here that we can use in game. Oh, bit of a third leg on that one. And we're going to need logos like this for every combination of buttons that we could possibly have in the game. So for example, I'm working on a hobby shop here. You can see it's got mascots, products, and the vibes here, so that's all the different styles. And because of things like this, we've got a third leg here. Sometimes I might get NSFW stuff. What we're trying to do is pre-gen them so we've got some measure of quality and control on what actually comes through the pipes and comes out looking good. If you're looking at even just these numbers over here at the moment, I'm in a calculator, you can see we've got 7 mascots and 7 possible products, and we also have 5 different styles of vibes, so we've got 245 different logos that we need to do, which in concrete terms means that if you're using the Stable Diffusion GUI here, you would need 245 different versions of this, mainly swapping out these first 3 words and a bunch of other ones to get all of the different possible logos we could need in the game. So we've made a lot of our own tools. A lot of them are things like Python scripts that put data together and generate prompts. Much of those I actually wrote a few of those, scripted a few of those using ChatGPT and GitHub Copilot to help me do that. I'm already relatively competent scripter, but can actually take a lot of that to the next level and do things that I would have used to have taken me a long time. Can do pretty quickly nowadays. So for example, this one here, there's a JSON doc with all of the possible data we need for this shop. And what I'll do is from a Finder window, I am going to run a terminal or command prompt if you're on Windows. And that aforementioned Python script, you can see I'm just going to run it here. Python generate permutations and put this data from the JSON through it. So that's already done. And if I have a quick look, I've lost. That's it here. Permutations, hobby shop. You can see now I have it's a text document, technically a CSV, but it doesn't need to be, with every possible variation of that hobby shop that you could see there. So all the warriors, all the dinosaurs, all the astronauts, all the witches, and the way we've organised it is so it can bring in all these other words, like they're a little bit like I think they're called embeddings for Stable Diffusion, but it's tucking a whole bunch of extra words into all these other words to help do a little bit of fine tuning on what kind of results we get for any given prompt. So then all those words there, traditionally what we could do is copy and paste all of those and use a script via Stable Diffusion. You can see here prompts from file or text box. And if I plug those into there, so that's just pasted all of this text. And if I get rid of this one, because it doesn't need anything in that one anymore, and I'll change the batch size down to 2. And if I hit generate, if I go and have a check inside our own internal text image, okay. So you can see these ones were finished just a few seconds ago. And you see, boom, started tuning out logos. So, got a few more. Warrior, sports, retro. They've got the word helmet in our prompt here, so you can see it's the helmets overpowering some of the other words. So we probably need to do some more tuning on that. If I refresh, you see they're coming through really fast here. If I back up here, it's shooting through. They won't take too long to make all of these. Okay, so that's pretty cool. So we do another process as well where we knock out the backgrounds, which I won't go through here. That's another step again, using a bunch of scripts and different shortcuts to do bulk edits to these things. That's pretty cool. Alright, so they're 8% done, and what would end up with in the end is a folder jam-packed full of these things. I think I have some from earlier. Okay, every possible one for a store. So, Gorilla Golf Nouveau. I'm seeing a lot of golf on that one. Gorilla Skateboarding. Here we go. Sort of skiing, skating on a snowboard.
Thanks, James. Okay, so that was My Magical Main Street, and now on to wanted to tell one thing about what the draw. So on My Magical Main Street and Better Life, you noticed we are using a form of offline generation. So we were creating assets using generative AI that then get put into the game, but they don't run at real time. What the draw, on the other hand, is a real-time pipeline, which means the player draws something and it gets sent off to a cluster of GPUs. For those who are interested in the tech, we're using T4 GPUs, which are quite cost effective. We get them from Google Cloud, and we're running Stable Diffusion 2.0 so that we can use the depth model. The information in the drawing is transferred into a depth map, which is then used to create a new image. Now, this is pretty old tech, and we wouldn't do it that way nowadays, but that was the best that we had when we were making this game a year ago. Now, I want to touch on the fourth thing. I said we talk about hope. I think hope comes from this: the joy that we can bring players by making something new, making something that just wasn't possible before, making something that's personalized, is wider, is more interesting than we've had before. And I think if we focus on that, then we will have a positive outcome, like a positive attitude towards the changes in AI. Because those changes, they're just not stopping. You can see no evil, hear no evil, but it's not going to stop the progress of AI. Now let's recap some of the changes that we've had in the last couple of weeks. And with that idea around being able to do things for players, hopefully we can all see these as part of the puzzle that we can use as creators to deliver something new and exciting. So Stable Diffusion, our favorite image generation engine, has its third generation coming out soon, and it can understand natural language much better. You don't have to carefully prompt, you can just talk to it and tell it what you want and get fantastic results, photoreal results. Gemini. This is one of my favorite LLMs. We've tried it and liked it for Better Life. Now, one of the problems with it is it didn't remember that much compared with some other LLMs. But last week, Google said, you know what? With Gemini 1.4 Pro, it's going to remember 32 times more. It can remember a whole book, or in our terms, a whole world. With being able to keep a whole world of Better Life in memory, the creative possibilities are just like mind-bogglingly big. So we're super excited about getting onto Gemini 1.5 Pro. Dream Shaper XL Lightning is something that dropped last week. The art team got super excited because finally we had a model that was fast and good. We've had fast before, we've had good before, but never both of them together. So that's what we're using going forward on My Magical Main Street. And this one kind of blew me away. Take an image and create some audio that goes along with it. Okay, here we go.
We were good, we were gold, kind of dream that can be so. We were right till we weren't, built a home that watched it burn. I didn't wanna leave, I didn't wanna lie, started to cry but then remembered I can buy myself flowers.
I mean, come on, that's amazing. I misspoke before. What this is actually doing is you give it an image, you give it some audio, and it combines it together into a performance. So just one frame input, giving that amount of expression. on the performance. I love it. Yep. Go into the
We were good.
And of course, Genie, where we started our journey. That came out only last week. And now I look at this as part of a development that allows us to do something amazing. And Genie does too. This is part of their white paper, the bit that I like the most, talking about the broader impact of creativity on everyone. And this is surprisingly close to our mission as a company at 2UP Games, and it's also really close to my heart. Last year, in the lead up to Christmas, I got to spend some time with my son. I always get to spend some time with my son, but he was particularly obsessed with Santa and Playmobil and pirates and had some ideas for a story that could be told. So we started telling the story using ChatGPT to do some images. My daughter came in and said, I want to get in this too, and I've got ideas, and I know where the story could go, which turns into an epic story where the two kids are granted the power of flight by their mum. They save Santa and they save Christmas, and they give their mum a wonderful book as a way of saying thank you. And I printed this out and, surprise, surprise, gave it to my wife from my kids as a way of saying thank you. So not only can AI in the future enable the creativity to bring kids' ideas to life, it is already doing so. And I love the results and I love what we were able to do. So ultimately, it's up to us to decide where we put our energy, into fear of change or into hope for the future. I know where mine's going, and I hope this presentation has brought both some tools and some hope for you. And to round it out, you thought you were done with the audio, but I've got one last song to play us out. Thank you and good luck.
In a world where kids' dreams come to life, our jobs as entertainers change. There's plenty of work to go.